Welcome to Bible Reader Companion. Our reading this week is the book of Philippians, chapters 3 and 4, and the book of Hebrews, chapters 1 through 8. And our memory verse this week is Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 15, which in the New King James Version says, "For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin." We'll look at this a little bit, look at the context of talking about Jesus as our high priest and some things that it means here. Let's back up to verse 11 and begin reading. Hebrews chapter 4, beginning in verse 11. He says, "Let us therefore be diligent to enter that rest, lest anyone fall according to the same example of disobedience. For the word of God is living and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the division of soul and spirit and of joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. And there is no creature hidden from his sight, but all things are naked and open to the eyes of him to whom we must give account. Seeing then that we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need." In this section, in verses 11 through 13, you have this warning about the power of the Word of God to search us out and to know who we are. But I think it's also both an admonition that the Word of God can help us determine who we are and help us to be different. And in the midst of this, the warning that there's no creature hidden from his sight, that we're going to give account for the things that we do. And you could potentially sense one becoming nervous at this concept. You know, the Word of God and his ability to see who we are, even to the very core, the division of soul and spirit and joints and marrow, and even the very intents of the heart. God doesn't just see what we do, he sees who we are, and he sees what we think. And that can be a scary proposition. And it might be easy, as is the context of this book, to be discouraged by that and say, is it really worth it? Can I ever live up to what God hopes for me to be? And yet he immediately then turns around with encouragement. And he begins to talk about Jesus, our high priest. And he begins to talk about what he's done. He's passed through the heavens. And when I say, wow, he's passed through the heavens and, he's the Son of God, he's not going to relate to me. How is that high priest going to help me when I go to him and seek intermediation between me and God? Well, he further comforts our hearts. And he says, as we face this battle and as we think about this idea of God piercing to our very hearts and knowing our very thoughts, we have a high priest that, yes, has passed through the heavens, and so he can relate to God, but he can also relate to us because he came and he was tempted just as we are. Yet he was able to overcome those temptations. He was able to not sin and not give in. So what does that do? It gives us confidence, as he says in verse 16, to come boldly to the throne of grace, to come before looking for that assistance and recognizing that our high priest is there to help us and to benefit us, that we might find grace to help in time of need. What a wonderful high priest who understands the God that can see to our very hearts and yet can understand what we're going through. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. Hope you'll think on these things, and hope you'll join us again tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook for more content like this.